This is ThisThat 2D. It's our platform for testing the effectiveness of different creative assets. We have tried to make this experience as seamless, as fun as possible, and as easy as possible. And this here is the first page we're going to start at in the demo, which is how to set up a study. There are three stages to set up a study. The first is you upload your test assets. These are the campaign assets that you want to test. Then you select and configure your KPIs. We use a brand lift methodology. So you select your brand lift KPIs and configure them with the criteria that you want to measure. And then you also are able to target the specific audience, the location, the age, and the gender of the audience, as well as the platforms, the social platforms that they use, which you can see at the bottom here. So let's get started. As I said, it's really easy to set up a study. The first thing is you upload your assets. Here we have three assets that we're going to test. One TV asset, a TV ad, and then two influencer ads. One from a lifestyle vertical and one from a travel vertical. So we're testing two different channels, and inside influencer channel, we are testing two different sort of influencer verticals. Then we can select our KPIs. So let's start with awareness, and we can set our brand, which we're going to call, which is actually Get Your Guide, a travel company and app. Get Your Guide. So have you heard of Get Your Guide? So these three assets are ads for Get Your Guide. And that's our awareness KPI already set up. You can get information on it, on how to set it up here if you're not clear, or a full breakdown of the brand lift methodology and all the KPIs here. There's a link to our full methodology explanation there as well. So we're keeping the methodology really transparent. We'll also set up an association. So we'll type in a few different associations. You can see we want to test a diverse selection of activities as an association. We want to test flexible planning and customized bucket lists, for example. And you can add any number of associations into this one KPI question as well. But we're going to measure which of these options people most relate with Get Your Guide. We'll also add in a favorability KPI for this, and a couple of action intents. The first one is how likely are you to download the app for Get Your Guide? And the next action intent question we're going to add is going to be book an experience through Get Your Guide. So we've got our sort of 5 KPIs here: awareness lift, association lift, favorability, and 2 action intent lifts, all set up really easily. We can then select our location. We can set our audience. Let's say we want all female, all fairly young. So we'll set that like that. And that's our target audience. And we could also select a platform. We're not going to in this demo. Once we're happy with our configuration, all we do is click go. And just like that, we're off. The study has been launched. Now we can track that study on our homepage. You can see here our Get Your Guide, our 3 asset test for Get Your Guide is in progress. We've currently collected 0% of the data, but I'm going to continue with the video and I'm going to show you a previous one that we launched. And I'm going to come back to this and we'll see how much data it's collected by the time I finish the demo. So as I said, we launched this a little while ago, a very similar test. This has similar questions: awareness, association, favorability, preference, and action intent. And you can see, here's our results page. So we have one asset that we've labeled with TV, one asset that's the influencer travel vertical, and another asset that's the influencer lifestyle. And immediately we have our grid of lift results. We can look at this in absolute lift or relative lift as a percentage. We're going to keep it in absolute lift for now. And you can see we have in our rows, we can look at how each KPI performed. So we can see, for example, favorability overall lifted really, really strongly across all our KPI, across all of our assets. So 25% on average across all of our responses. But for TV and for influencer travel, it was much stronger at 30 and 32 points. And we can see influencer lifestyle didn't lift anywhere nearly as strongly as the travel and TV assets. We can also see on a column by column basis how each asset performed. And we can see immediately influencer lifestyle, although it lifts positively in all our KPIs, it lifts less well than the other 2 assets. So we can start to get a feeling that lifestyle as a vertical isn't as relevant as travel and as the travel vertical and the TV ad as well. So this is really useful, this view. You can see all of the different data in one view, get a holistic view. Something else that we provide is this statistical significance marker that tells you, based on the sample size of our collection, right now we're collecting these survey responses from hundreds of panelists for our assets and for our control. Is the result statistically significant? And this takes into account the sample size and the absolute lift of that result. So because this is quite a small lift, that isn't statistically significant, but it's still useful for you to see. And if this grid view isn't to your liking, we've also got the charts view, which shows the same data, but in a more conventional format. You have your KPIs one by one, you have your control bar, the overall lift across all your assets, and each asset broken down one by one. So you can start to get a feeling for how different assets performed. If we look here, for example, we can look at the association lift. As we did earlier, we've actually measured 4 different associations in this one KPI. So we can see all the different assets lifted on the association of having a diverse selection of experiences and activities worldwide. But if we change this to look at what the lift was on customized wish lists or travel bucket lists, we can see that actually TV didn't perform very well. TV didn't lift that association. It actually had a negative lift of minus 2.7 points. Likewise, if we scroll to the bottom and look at action intent, we can see that they all performed very similarly. It was the same in our grid view as well. Plus 11 points, it's slightly different. The values are slightly different. But the lift is almost identical across all of these. And that's for the very likely and likely answers for how likely are you to book an experience with Get Your Guide in the next 30 days. But if we change that to just look at very likely, we can see that actually the influencer lifestyle asset on the bottom had a negative lift. There was actually a smaller proportion of people who were very likely to book an experience after seeing that asset, compared with influencer travel, the travel vertical, and the TV asset, which performed the best overall for that KPI on very likely. If you want to go even deeper into the data, we do offer the functionality to export your results into a CSV, into a spreadsheet, so that you can generate your own charts and analyze the data even further, if that's something you'd like to do. And as a beta, sort of a soft launch user, you also have the ability to vote and suggest different features for the platform. So you can make a suggestion and you can vote on different features, just like that. So that's really handy and a great feature for launch. So I've just come back 10 minutes later, and we can see that we've got 20% of the data collected so far across our control group, across all of our test assets as well. We've already collected 20%, so we can expect to see that complete that test and have our results ready pretty quickly. And that's the entire demo of the core functionality of ThisThat 2D platform.